If you're a single woman over 40 looking for Mr. Right and you're ready to learn the most underrated skill to save time and heartache, you're in the right place. In this episode, as an intuitive dating coach, I'm sharing how to avoid dating burnout. And this is the season we're talking about developing your intuition to find love. Let's get started. Welcome to episode 5. I'm really excited because this kicks off a 3-part series on 3 ways to use your intuition to avoid dating burnout. And this is part 1. So how many of you listening are you experiencing dating burnout? And do you know what that is? We're going to break down exactly what it is because maybe you're not even aware that you have dating burnout, and we want to really figure it out so that we can get you back into the dating scene without having to sit around and say, I'll just wait for the universe to deliver me someone. I'll just wait and, go by divine timing. No. We do not want to do divine timing. That is a recipe for disaster and is just, in my opinion, as a dating coach and just seeing so many women struggle over the years, and including myself, to find someone and getting so exhausted about it and just kind of giving up and saying, well, I'll just go with divine timing. And it's a way of giving up. You can come at me if you want, but this has been my experience. You have to get intentional and have a little bit of emphasis on your own action to get things going. The universe doesn't drop things in your lap. Sometimes you get a beautiful, delightful surprise, like in some kind of rom-com, you'll just knock into someone and spill your coffee all over yourself, and lo and behold, it will be the love of your life. You still had to get to that coffee shop, and you still had to put yourself outside and get dressed and to do all that and take that form of action. And you'd probably been doing something before that, like, oh, I wish I could find somebody and I really want to find love. And there you go. That doesn't happen very much. It does happen. But most of all, it takes intention, and we don't want to be doing divine timing. It'll just take too long, especially we're in our 40s. We just don't have time to do things like that. We need to be really intentional. Let's talk about, what is dating burnout? Do you have any of these symptoms? The number one is exhaustion, just feeling a sense of fatigue. Every time you think about dating, you get extremely exhausted and you just want to go and put on your pajamas and climb into bed, or you just want to pull the covers over your head and say, I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to go on any dates. It's a total waste of time. Other thing is getting overwhelmed, where your mind starts spinning around in a million different directions and saying, the dating apps don't work, everyone's crazy, or everyone's married, or I don't have a chance because I'm too old, and the guys my age are too old and they're no fun, and the younger guys don't want me. And so you start going down that doomsday kind of rabbit hole where you tell yourself all the reasons why it's absolutely impossible to find anyone. That's another symptom of dating burnout, because you're really in a negative mindset at that point, because your overwhelm has caused your nervous system to just go haywire, and you get flooded with these negative chemicals of just like, it's not going to work. Maybe you get jaded. That's another thing. You're like, this doesn't work and I'm too old. It's just time to give up. It's time to get more cats. Okay, so the dating burnout really is about getting so far away from what you want because you're just filled with a sense of exhaustion, of dread, of cynicism, and jaded negativity to the point where you're like, no, that doesn't work. And I can always recognize it in clients or customers that I've worked with, is they'll start saying everything that I throw out there, all of the things that I know work. And they're like, no, that doesn't work for me. No, that's never going to work. No, not in this city. That doesn't work here. I've tried that. It doesn't work. And it's a complete and total shutdown. It's a refusal to be open and willing to anything, to try or do anything. And so that's a really big red flag, a dating burnout red flag, that you have lost, not, I don't want to sound so dramatic, but it's like you've lost all hope. But what it really is you're just drowning in this negative soup, which is you can get out of this. Now, when I describe this, I don't want you to get upset, because if you have these symptoms and you feel like you are in dating burnout, there is a way to get through this. And that's why I'm doing this 3-part series, because it is definitely doable. It just takes a process, it takes time, and it takes intentionality and healing to get through this to the other side. Let's see, what else do we have around dating burnout? It's going to be that the refusal to do anything. We've got the exhaustion, we've got the negativity, and also that fear. It's like a lot of anxiety might come up, or dread. I had someone who was like, as soon as they would go to open their dating app, they would just start to feel nauseous and practically fainting and just feeling so sick and ill and upset and just overwhelmed, to the point where their emotions, their body felt physically ill. That is definitely a sign of dating burnout, because that's someone who is like, my body's just going nuts even thinking about opening this app. And all these alarm bells are going off and you're just in overdrive of dread. So you can just be like, okay, maybe I have a few of those. Remember, my framework is the first thing is awareness. So you just want to be aware. You're not going to be putting yourself down about this. You're going to be saying, oh, okay, I think I have dating burnout. Or I'm going through dating burnout. And then move into the acceptance part of like, of course, I've been doing this for a while. I feel like I've had some bad experiences. I've had my heart broken. I feel like everybody else has settled down, and it's like, seems so much easier for everyone around me. Why is it so hard for me? And just going through this emotional trauma really around dating can be so disappointing and devastating at times. And so give yourself that loving acceptance and say, this is okay that I'm going through this, because it makes perfect sense. Think of it this way. Dating burnout is really where we ask ourselves, how does this happen? If you think about the feeling of exhaustion, the feeling of dread, the anxiety, all of these things, how it really starts to happen is the way you've been dating or the choices you've been making have had some form of forcing, chasing, using your logic, trying to make things work, going against your better judgment. In other words, completely exhausting yourself, going against everything that you maybe truly believe, or that your intuition is trying to say, you know, this is the easy way. This is the way that we're going to really enjoy ourselves through dating. This is the way that you're going to feel more confident. And for whatever reason, going against that. And in the last episode, I talked about rebellion and how we rebel against ourselves and we say, no, I don't want to believe that, or I don't want to try that, or I don't trust myself, or I don't believe in this, or whatever it is. And so then you do the opposite and you start forcing things to happen in a certain way. And you start chasing after someone who is totally wrong for you. And believe me, I have done this, and I'm writing a whole book about my own experiences of how I really went from chasing love to finding the love of my life in my 40s. And it was a whole long hero's journey. I call it a Shiro's journey. And I went through so much to bring myself out of that, to stop doing that. So I understand completely when I'm saying that this is really hard to stop doing, but it is doable. You can stop forcing things. You can stop doing the chasing. You can start listening to your intuition and using your intuition to help you find love. And in this case, we're talking about how to avoid burnout. And that is simply by giving yourself that easy path that is being rolled out in front of you. The universe is rolling out the red carpet and you're like, no, I don't want to go down the stupid red carpet. I want to go the other way. I want to climb halfway up the mountain with no shoes on, like whatever you're doing to really go against yourself. It's hard to accept sometimes. It's hard to say, okay, I have been doing that. I have been doing things the hard way. I have been forcing things. A lot of women who, do this, they're fiercely independent and almost like hyper independent. They want to prove that they can do it. And again, there's no judgment. This is coming from a space of being trained or being programmed to be someone who's hyper independent, who has to be a super independent superwoman or whatever it is, that's honestly, so it makes sense. It makes sense that we might turn into someone like that. And that's okay. These are a lot of things I want you to think about when you're tuning in and going, okay, do I have dating burnout? Well, this kind of sounds like me. Yes, I do have these kind of habits, these characteristics. Okay, so what do I do now? Well, that's where I say you've got to use your intuition. And that's why I'm doing this entire season. Season 3 is all about your intuition and mastering your intuition to find love. And I've done courses on this, and this is really my main message for women. It centers around, that's why I call this podcast Stop Chasing Unavailable Guys, because that is part of avoiding your intuition. That is part of not using that intuition, because your intuition would never tell you to chase after someone. Your intuition would never lead you down that path. This is all about not connecting to your true self, not listening to your true self, not being able to use your intuition, which is the guiding light. It's your North Star. It's going to lead you to exactly where you want to go. And so when we're doing all of the opposite stuff, you could call it the sabotaging, it becomes incredibly frustrating. And that's why the body just completely burns out. The brain burns out. The emotions burn out, because it's like at some point, this is not working. And unless we just stop and completely shut down, we're going to keep doing this for a decade. Now I want you to start thinking about the first way to use your intuition. So this is part 1 of 3. The first way is to learn your no. You need to know when your body, when your intuition, everything is saying, no, let's not do this. We're going in the opposite direction. And this is evidenced by the dating burnout. So as soon as you start getting that exhaustion, the dread, the anxiety, the being jaded, cynical, all that stuff starts happening, because a part of you is trying to say, this is the best way. If you follow this, it's going to be amazing. And then part of you's like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to climb that mountain with bare feet and just see if I don't, sort of thing. See if I can't do it. I'll prove you wrong. I'll prove you wrong right here and now. That's kind of a battle within yourself that you have to decide, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it's a decision that you make by saying, I really don't want to go through this anymore. I understand that I've done this up until this point, and I accept that, and I love myself, but I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm making a decision to actually go the easy path of what I'm being guided, what my true heart's desire actually is. So learning your no is very important. You want to be able to say, recognize when all the alarm bells are going off and what it means for you. For example, there's many different ways to look at this, but learning your no can be just from the physical body. Like, what is your body trying to tell you? For me, it would be my stomach starts clenching, or it feels like a cattle prod in my solar plexus is like a definite no. And that could be something as easy as, you go on a dating app and you're like, oh, this guy is so good looking and he seems perfect and awesome. I'm going to message him. But then all of a sudden you get this cattle prod in the stomach. That's your no. And if you continue at that point to be like, oh, who cares? No, that's just stupid. I just had a stomach ache. And then you message him and you go on a date and it turns into a disaster, or whatever happens. It's just not meant for you. You've gone against yourself. And so once you learn your no, what you have to do is actually listen to your no. A better way to say it is you honor your no. And you listen to yourself and you start going in the direction of what you want. You start choosing what you want as opposed to going against yourself. So that's the number 1 principle. The first principle of part 1 of the series is learn your no. What is the no? And to actually listen to it and understand that it's not like telling you you can't do this or you can't do that and restricting you, and your sense of freedom or your sense of rebellion comes up and you get your back up. Instead of getting all wrapped up in that, just be like, I'm going to honor my no because it's leading me to my yes. It's leading me to the relationship I desire. Start with that. Think about, okay, do I have dating burnout? That's okay. I'm going to accept this. Where do I go from here? making that decision. Okay, I'm going to go towards my intuition. I'm going to use my intuition, and I'm going to avoid more burnout, and I'm going to learn my no, and I'm going to start listening to it as opposed to forcing, chasing, or using my logic or going against my better judgment. Keep those in mind. The next episode is going to be part 2, another way to use your intuition to avoid dating burnout. And we're also going to look at how you can start healing that dating burnout while you avoid getting any more burnt out, because we want to just stop that burnout phase so that you can really dive into what you want. And it could mean, another question I get is people are like, should I just stop dating for a while and take a break? And I'm going to answer that in part 2. So I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, love is closer than you think.